Well, welcome back to the Eco Spirit talks, lectures, whatever. The last time I spoke about a traditional indigenous way of looking at all this and living with it. Even though Western civilization, Eurocentric civilization, is very different from what indigenous peoples lived with, there were exceptions. And one that has had a profound experience on me is Francis of Assisi. Most people know Francis from statues in their gardens and stuff. You know, he's got a bird on his shoulder and what have you. And he did. He used to, an eagle just went over here. He used to sing songs and prayers to the trees and the birds and what have you. And I always think of, and he was dressed in rags. His father was very wealthy, and at one point, they were estranged at this point, but at one point, his father was very angry with him. He was, he insulted his father by the way he was living. He humiliated the family. He was an embarrassment. And he still had his fine clothes on. His father actually was a clothier. And in the middle of the town, his father and him got at it. People gathered. And Francis denounced him and said, "I want nothing more to do with you." And he took all of the clothes his father had put on his back off. And he stood there in the town square, completely naked. I think that was the last time his father and him spoke to one another. But Francis, in today's world, I don't know. I have a feeling, like many mystical type people, he would be highly medicated, possibly institutionalized for his own good. And yet, for him, the rest of the world was crazy because he experienced God where I stand, in a sense, with the tree behind me, the green underneath me, the sky above me, the wind itself, and the eagle that just passed. He just saw that as nature was a sacramental way of viewing the divine. I mean, to him it was rather simple. It's that awareness of what one person called the holy other. And literally, if this is this, the holy other, say like in quantum mechanics today, would be whatever field you're dealing with. Well, for Francis, it was the field of God. Francis saw, experienced, felt, interacted with the Creator through the creation. I remember, I'm from New York. I remember back in 1964, I went to the World's Fair. And in one of the presentations, there was the Pieta. One, I had never seen a block of marble so big. But as I looked at it, it was lit from the front, lit from the back. And the backlights were, for those of you who don't know what the Pieta is, it's pity, with Mary holding Jesus' dead body across her lap. And in the folds of her gown, they were so thin that the light was actually coming through that. And I'm looking at this going, this is marble, it's a rock. But you could see the hand of Michelangelo taking this massive piece of marble and making that out of it. To me, that was a miracle. What Francis was about is the expression of a soul open to everything around it and everything deep within it. It's an uplifting, I can use the word ascension, both outward from deep within, but also it's an upward experience of self-awareness. You're beginning to see yourself in this as well as that in you. You're touching the oneness that is the cohesion of reality. It takes you out of self-centeredness through the experience of the environment. Statues. We look at them and a lot of people go, oh, they're nonsense or what have you, but this tree is a statue. It's a statue of a living entity that is not responding to me the way I would maybe want it to, but I know it's responding to me. And through this statue here, like other statues, you can connect with what it represents, not the thing in and of itself. I couldn't connect with Mary and Jesus through that piece of marble, but it was a profound experience that I reflected on them with. He sang and prayed with plants and animals. I mean, if I come on the island and somebody was over here with this little white pine tree, praying with it, singing to it, talking to it, I wouldn't freak out. I'd probably keep my distance and respect, but I could understand it. I have a tendency to do this, and when people do this, you like to be left alone. Francis saw creation, what I'm looking at all back here, as the mirror of God. And again, I'll go back to that Pieta. That block of marble, fashioned that way, mirrored the hand of Michelangelo. This mirrors the hand that brought it forth. It's as simple as that. Through nature, the presence of God was manifest to him. He didn't have a problem with that. Other people did. So when you come to the island, or places like it, it's a thing to come to with a sense of reverence. Because, one, this has been here thousands of years. I haven't. There's reverence in that alone. A sense of sacredness, that it's here in its silent stillness. All these trees are like monks meditating, quietly, being moved by the wind. That's kind of like a monastic experience. And then, because, in a sense, especially with plants, they're so different from us and yet similar, there is that sense of what I've talked about before, wonder and awe. It's a wonderful experience. What I want to share, though, just to end this, is what, in a lot of hymn books, is called the Canticle of the Sun, but what Francis called the Canticle to Brother Sun. But I just want to go through it and note how, and I'll do this in quotes, how indigenous his mind was. Now he praises God first, and he says, we praise you especially for Brother Sun, who is shining on me right now. I can look up and I can see it right through the trees there. Who is the day through whom you give us light, beautiful, radiant with great splendor. And since he is the light, he bears your likeness. I think every culture on earth prior to the Enlightenment, which is a strange word, understood that the sun somehow reflected the source. We praise you, Sister Moon, and the stars. You've made the heavens bright, precious, fair. You know, most people look at the moon and go, oh, it's full moon, going to be high tide. And it ends there, or whatever. They don't see it as something that, it's a light in the darkness. Anyone who understands spirituality understands that. We praise you, brothers, wind and air. Now, the interesting thing there that I find is that, one, he knew Latin. He may have known Greek, too. I have a breeze right now coming off the river. It's moving the trees. The clouds are moving up there. The wind is moving. The air is moving. You know, Jesus said, look at the wind. You don't know about it until it moves. And he says, so it is with the Spirit. Well, that, you know, the thing is, how many times do we out here and we got air circulating, helping us to breathe and what have you, and equate that to the spiritual dimension? We praise you, Sister Water. Well, you can't escape being on an island without noting the water that creates the island. I got the Southwest right here, moving out. And yet, he sees it as humble, useful, precious, pure. That's Taoist. We praise you, Brother Fire. I mean, right now, because of a heat wave, there's a lot of fires out west, and we've had them here. 1825, we had a massive fire here that took Newcastle out. But this is pre-electrical. He says, Brother Fire, you give us light in the night. But he also saw fire as being playful, robust, strong. I remember having a wood furnace, and I used to sit down there at night, and I would watch the fire transform the logs into fire. And I understood how energy takes matter and turns it back into energy. And there's a spiritual context for that as well. And then finally he says, we praise you for Sister Earth, like all indigenous peoples, who sustains us. If this is turned into a parking lot, we're dead. Her fruits, her colored flowers, her herbs, all of the things that give us life and enjoyment, do we not see them as sacred? Do we not see them worthy of reverence? Do we not see them and through the eyes of wonder and awe? That's what Francis saw.